How does one become a therapist where you can own and operate your own solo private practice? Let's talk about it. There are several different routes to becoming a therapist and owning and operating your own solo private practice. However, keep in mind there can be some state limitations on therapist licensure, so that is something to consider when you are pursuing becoming a therapist and if you know that you want to go into private practice. For me personally, as soon as I knew I wanted to pursue being a therapist, I knew that I wanted to do private practice. And so I got my undergrad in social work with a minor in psych. I graduated in 3 years. I went straight into my master's. I got a master's of science in counselor education with an emphasis in clinical mental health. So that route led me to the licensure of licensed professional counselor, which is an LPC. My master's program was 3 years long. So in total, with graduating a year early in undergrad, I completed 6 years of schooling. And then it was about a year and a half, 2 years for me to complete my 3,000 supervised hours as a licensed professional counselor in training, to then be able to become a fully independent licensed professional counselor. In total, about 7.5, 8 years for me to become independently licensed. And like I said, there are several different routes to becoming a therapist. I knew people in my master's program who didn't have an undergrad degree in anything social work, psych, counselor education related, and they still were able to get into the master's program. You could also pursue social work and become a licensed clinical social worker. You could pursue marriage and family therapy. You could pursue psychology and become a licensed psychologist. When I was considering becoming a therapist, I didn't even know there were so many options. I really only knew about social work, and later on I found out about counselor education, which is the route for becoming a licensed professional counselor or an LPC. And what helped me suss out which program was going to be best for me was just looking at the schools that I was interested in and then comparing their courses and what the courses were going to contain content-wise, and then assessing where my values aligned and what felt like it was going to be most beneficial for me and the career path that I was on. Something else that can be helpful is going to your own personal therapy and talking to your therapist about your thoughts and feelings about becoming a therapist.